You're listening to Wild About Arizona, the official podcast of the Arizona Game and Fish Department.
And welcome to Wild About Arizona. I'm John Trueller with the Arizona Game and Fish Department. Today's episode, we're talking all about various events at Game and Fish, whether they be educational or informative, that happen throughout the year. And it's only fitting of our location today because we are at the biggest event of the year. We are broadcasting from the Arizona Game and Fish Department Outdoor Expo, presented by Shikar Safari Club International. So we're excited to be here outside of our normal studio on the grounds of the Ben Avery shooting facility. And with us today is Eric Proctor, who, by the way, is a returning guest, the first returning guest. Welcome back, Eric.
Well, thanks a lot, John. It's great to be back, and it's very exciting to be in this different venue today.
Yes. You know, you've seen both venues now, and of course, we're getting to experience and encompass all of it out here. So just for those folks that don't know, remind us of your role at the Game and Fish Department, Eric.
So I'm actually the Wildlife Education Coordinator for the department, and in that role, I kind of work with educators across the state of Arizona. So I work kind of in the formal K-12 environment mostly, helping teachers bring wildlife issues and wildlife concepts into the classroom. We do that through like professional development. We do workshops for teachers where we bring them out into the field. We also host webinars and just educational things to inform the educators and build a passion for wildlife so that then they can bring and share that passion with students.
And the Game and Fish Expo is, as we mentioned, the biggest event of the year. Over 100 vendors here, thousands of people. But there are plenty of other events that happen throughout the year on medium, smaller scales, you name it. So talk to us about some of the other events that people may get to experience or see throughout the year.
Sure. So from an education standpoint, I think a lot of people associate Game and Fish with just the enforcement side and that, but we do a lot of these events that help people get to appreciate the outdoors. And some of those most notable ones are probably some of our fishing events that we do. We do a lot of family fishing events where we really try to get families out to maybe a lake or a pond that's nearby their house or in their community and get them. We bring out the experts, we bring out the fishing rods, we bring out everything that they might need so that they can enjoy this family-friendly event with their family. Those are some of the events we do. We host a lot of other sort of wildlife fairs, or we are involved in a lot of wildlife fairs across the state, whether they are taking advantage of like migratory birds that might be coming into the community, like the sandhill cranes that come in, and every year there's a big wildlife festival, which is similar, maybe not quite to the same scale as the Outdoor Expo, right, but certainly same kind of idea that there's vendors, there are a lot of education programs out there. We host a lot of these events where we bring out skins and skulls of some of these animals that people can see these animals firsthand and maybe touch the skins and skulls and build that connection with the wildlife.
Well, I think what's cool about our events too is that whether you're a kid or an adult, or you're an expert in your field, or you're a complete beginner and want to learn more, there's really kind of an event for you.
Absolutely. So we do have, we've been really trying to work on this sort of laddered approach, or the scaled approach, where you have these sort of entry-level events, but then we might have more advanced events. A fishing program is probably one of those good examples where you have those for the people that don't know anything about fishing to get them involved and out in fishing. But then we have more of what we might call these like hook to plate events, where we would have, okay, so now you've learned how to catch a fish. Well, what do you do with that? What's the next level step? How to cook that fish, how to process that fish, and those types of things. And we have that on all of our different scales, from hunting to fishing to OHV to paddling.
Well, and it's got to be exciting for you too. I know you do a lot of these events, and a lot of our other staff do these various events in their area of expertise. But it's got to be exciting to see that and interact with people across the state of Arizona.
Oh yeah, so that's one of the best parts about the job, and I think that I have one of the best jobs. Is I do get to experience the wildlife, but I more importantly, I get to experience other people's experiences with the wildlife and with the outdoors. And when you see these, at the expo in particular, when they come and they get to see a great horned owl in person for the first time, or they get to see a black bear skull, or they get to catch their first fish, there's nothing quite like that when you get the joy and the passion, and you know that you are making lifelong wildlife lovers, outdoor recreation lovers.
And it's exciting too, because after a break of 2 years, our expo is back and events are starting to come back. So we're actually starting to get out there again and engage with people. And that's just thrilling for, I know, people across the state, but also our professionals who love to get out there and engage.
Absolutely. There's an energy that comes to these events. It's a lot different than interacting. And I don't get me wrong, I've done quite a number of interactions across, through Zoom that we all have been doing. And there's still value in those programs, but there's an energy in these in-person events like this expo or these wildlife festivals that we host that you can't get anywhere else. And that's just really amazing to see and feel.
Is there an event, Eric, that you have that is a favorite of yours that you really enjoy going to or really look forward to all year besides expo?
So for me, like I said, I work with teachers a lot. And so anytime I can get teachers out in the field with our biologists, that's that same, we talk about that sharing that experience and that joy. And when these teachers who have a passion for science get to see other passionate biologists in the field, so when they get to go out and do a prairie dog survey and they get to help with measuring the prairie dogs or weighing the prairie dogs, it's something that they can't experience anything else. And those are the types of events that I really enjoy.
Well, and touch on that a little bit more for me. What are some of the things that those educators maybe learn when they're with you in the field or when people attend some of our various events? What are some of the big takeaways for them?
So for us, we're going to show them, I like to show them, what is involved in wildlife management and wildlife conservation, that it is a science. There's a science behind it, and trying to get them to understand that science that they can bring back to their classrooms, specifically when we're talking about teachers. And so being able to experience that, seeing the problem solving that's involved, the creativity that's involved with trying to manage wildlife, and what do you do with it when you have a problem species or an endangered species that you're trying to bring back, and those are the types of things that we really like to show with them. And
well, and I think what's cool, too, is, as we kind of touched on a little bit, there are events for everybody in the state. There's educational events and opportunities for teachers, but there's bat nettings and there's wildlife viewing opportunities. We have, you can go out with our wildlife photographer, George, and there's a lot to do and see.
Absolutely. So wildlife viewing is one of those programs within the department that's really trying to grow quite a bit. And so we're trying to hit those different interests that people have. Photography being a big one. Wildlife photography. People love to see animals and take pictures of that experience in a memorable way. So going out and being able to photograph bison or the sandhill cranes when they migrate in. Or even if you're not a photographer, going out with some of our experts onto a boat tour to go see bighorn sheep in Canyon Lake. Or like you mentioned, the bat netting. To be able to see a bat up close is a very rare event. So to have biologists there explaining the bat and showing you the bat up close, and you get to see their little teeth or their frail little wings, it's just really cool.
Yeah, really cool indeed. And you're with an expert. You're with, the state's leading experts on this topic. So you can ask them a question or really anything you want, and they'll have an answer for you.
Absolutely. I have found that having access to the experts or those types of things is something that people are really craving. And especially when we were shut down for 2 years and everything was through Zoom, being able to talk to the real people that are doing this real on the ground work is fascinating. And so that, I think, is something that you can't get anywhere else, is to go with a biologist and see a bat up close and have them explain to you the natural history of the bat, the adaptations of the bat. You can't get that anywhere else.
And, we mentioned photography. If it comes to photography, these are folks that they are professionals. They are award-winning photographers. You can ask them the different tips and tricks of the trade and maybe learn something that you never even thought you could do.
Absolutely. I've gone on a couple of photography ones myself, not being a professional photographer, but I'm absolutely amazed at what it takes to put together those professional level photographs and to have those people there that do this on a regular basis. The tips, every time I go, I learn something new. I take something new that I can apply to my own photography.
Yeah, whether you're just looking at birds in your backyard or if you're going up to the Grand Canyon to shoot something, you can take it with you wherever.
Absolutely. Like I said, every time I go, there's something, I just take one little tip and I try to apply that to being in my backyard. And okay, there's a little quail running around my wall. How do I capture this in the best way? And I'm looking at lighting and all the different factors, the little tips that I've learned on these trips.
Well, and there's a huge benefit to the community to having these events all across the state? I mean, touch on that, Eric. It's really impressive, and it means a lot to the people that call Arizona home.
Absolutely. I think so. To be able to go into these small communities that may not have, they don't have the amusement parks and the other things that might draw people in. So from a tourist perspective, these small communities they're supported by a lot of these trips that come in here. But just the community pride that these communities can feel as well, to know that this is something that's taking place nowhere else in the world in some cases, that they can see this wildlife, and a lot of these communities have embraced that nature of the outdoors that exists.
When young people come to these events and they're engaging with you, what's the best part for them, Eric? What's their biggest takeaway?
For them, it's gaining an appreciation for the wildlife that, one, they might not have ever even knew existed in the state. They touch it, they see it, they encounter it in some way, and they remember that. And that's something that they're going to remember for years to come. I'll share a brief little thing of, I went into a classroom one time with a tortoise, a desert tortoise, and it's going to sound a little gross, but the desert tortoise took a poop in the middle of the classroom. And 3 years later, I was on that same school campus, and one of the kids came up to me and said, "You're the tortoise guy where the tortoise pooped in my classroom." But that's something memorable. It might be a small event for us that deal with us on a day-to-day basis, but they remembered that tortoise event, and they remembered something about it, and they care now about that wildlife in a way that they didn't before.
And I guess same question for you, Eric. What's your biggest takeaway from these events, and what's the best part for you?
The best part for me is those initial encounters that we have, those initial experiences, and seeing the smile that they get when they encounter this wildlife or catch their first fish. There's nothing quite like that laughter they get, that smile that they get. It's just so much fun. It's what drives it. It's the energy behind what we do.
If people want to know where the nearest event is towards them, if they want to know how they can get involved, maybe what topic they should learn about, if they're curious about a particular thing, where should they go? What should they do?
So the easiest thing is going to be, we have so many different departments that are doing, sections within the department that are doing these types of things. The easiest thing is to get onto the website, the Game and Fish's website, azgfd.gov, and then search for the education. Down at the bottom of the page, there's an education tab, and you can find, depending on what you're interested in. If you're interested in paddling, there's paddling programs. If you're interested in fishing, there's going to be fishing programs. If you're interested in wildlife viewing or teachers, classroom portions, you're going to find all of that under that education tab, and that's where that's a good place to start.
And you shouldn't be frightened. You don't have to know a lot about game and fish. You don't have to be an expert in this area. The whole point of these is to learn and to really engage.
Absolutely. None of our events really are designed to where you have to have that gateway of coming in, of understanding this before you can do that. They are open to the public. They're designed, and our educators that do these programs are so good. They're used to encountering people of all different levels, and they can address all those different levels within the same program. So certainly don't be intimidated and say, well, I know nothing about fishing, or I know nothing about paddling. There's only one way to learn, and that's to come out and do it and experiencing it. And having the experts there is one of the best ways to do that.
And you guys are passionate about it.
Absolutely. Like I said, that these are professional educators. We know what we are doing and how to work with that, but we're doing it because we love what we do.
And it's not just in Phoenix, it's not just in Flagstaff, but all over the state. Like you said, we'll go to some of the smallest, most remote parts of the state and do events. We do everywhere it happens.
Absolutely. We do fishing events across the state, from Prescott to Phoenix to Tucson to Payson. We do boating events from Lake Havasu across the state. We do the watchable wildlife, the viewing programs are all over the place, all the way down into southeastern Arizona, like for the Sandhill Cranes down near Douglas or Tombstone. So we cover the state. So no matter where you are, go on our website. I'm sure you can find some kind of program that might fit your interests.
And it's really easy too, because usually you can sign up right online. It'll tell you if it's free, if it costs money, because some are different, right, Eric?
Exactly. We do have a variety of different programs. So we have a lot of entry-level programs that are no cost. You can just come out and enjoy the time. But we do have some programs that we do charge a nominal fee that's going to cover some of the resources and the time that's involved. But all of that is done. It'll tell you up front when you go to register for the program.
Anything exciting coming up this year for 2022?
Well, for me personally, from a teacher perspective, I'm planning a whole bunch of, again, a lot of workshops that are going to design to get teachers out in the field, maybe with ferrets. We're looking at some ferret stuff, maybe some other stuff. But I know some of our other people, I know our wildlife viewing program is looking at some of those bat netting programs, and for some bighorn sheep viewing programs, they have a lot of online lectures where you can learn about rattlesnakes or javelina from the comfort of your home. We have fishing programs that are planned. I know there's an exciting one up at Watson Lake coming up here in the Prescott area. So lots of cool stuff coming up.
Yeah, and that one I know is really going to engage children a lot, and they're actually going to kind of net off, I think, a portion, so the kids can be kind of closer with the fish and hopefully get a chance to hook one. Yeah,
and that's what I do appreciate about when you come to a fishing program that Game and Fish provides, whether it's the Expo or whether it's that Watson Lake program, we do want to see some of that success. Now, fishing isn't always about the success,
right?
But when you have that initial success, I think it helps keep your interest going. And so we do kind of design these in a way where hopefully most of the kids and the families that participate will have that initial success.
Is there an event throughout the year that is like the highlight? Again, besides Expo, because this is kind of the highlight, but is there something else that happens throughout the year that's really popular with folks?
Again, it's going to depend on the interest. So the fishing programs are always really popular, depending on in the community that they're in. Our wildlife viewing programs are incredibly popular. So to go out on Canyon Lake on a boat with our biologists, that's been really popular. And of course, our bat netting programs, because I think there's a mystique about bats.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be a fear or some kind of healthy respect for the bats, but to come out and see them in that nature has always been a really popular program.
Well, it's cool to learn about it because most people, and we've had Angie, our state bat biologist, on before, are afraid of bats.
Yes.
And there's this stigma with them. So you can really kind of engage with a bat and with our biologists and learn that, hey, bats aren't actually all that bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's a safe environment to sort of address that fear if you have it, right? And you're going to have the biologist there who's going to talk to you about, well, the reason you think that about bats is because this might be their behavior, but this is why they do that. They're looking for food or whatever it might be, and they're not necessarily doing it to intimidate you, and hopefully that might help you address your fears on some of these animals.
Well, I know you've got a year on tap. We're once again broadcasting from the Expo, the Arizona Game and Fish Expo. But say it again, Eric. If people want to get involved, they want to learn, where should they go? What should they do?
So again, the easiest way is going to be going to the Game and Fish website, which is azgfd.gov, and then scrolling all the way down to the education tab that's down at the bottom. And from there, they'll be able to pick the type of program that interests you, and they'll be able to find a calendar of events that they can register for.
Well, Eric, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you. Some folks stopping by to say hi. We appreciate you joining us for the second time on Wild About Arizona, and we appreciate all that you do for us.
Well, thanks a lot. It was a ton of fun to do this again. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. Visit us online at www.azgfd.gov.